Welcome to Soul Sessions, conversations to inspire your journey through life. I'm your host, Susan Kiskis.
And I'm Jose Johnson.
And I'm Rickie Freedman.
Today's topic is spiritually conscious business. Later on, we'll introduce you to today's guest. But for now, Rickie, this was your wonderful idea for today's show. So can you share with us a little bit about what's inspired you to talk about spiritually conscious business? Because you have a spiritually conscious business.
Exactly. So this is very personal for me. And there's always more to learn about how to bring this to people in a way that is meaningful, grounded, and relatable. And I think our guest today is going to really help us understand that from a spiritual perspective.
Yeah. And you also are a business owner too, Jose.
Right. You know, that's one of the hardest things for me has been to balance the concepts of having a spiritually oriented business and having a financially viable business, because sometimes the way we have been taught to approach business seem to violate our spiritual principles. But as you begin to talk to a lot of people that are doing amazing things with spiritually based business, you understand that it doesn't have to be an either or situation, that you can have a really great financial model and have and make income, generate income, and there's nothing wrong with doing that if it's providing a service that is helping to move people along on their spiritual journey. So I'm really excited about today's topic too.
So as a chronic entrepreneur who's had several businesses, one of which was a yoga studio, I found that I went to extremes in order to have a spiritually conscious business. So I would want to have as many free programs and options as possible, or whether that's donations or scholarships, or even just the classes themselves as free, versus trying to have things that actually had a nominal value in order to keep the business operating, right? But the expectation was always that as a spiritual business, that most things should be free. Otherwise, it's, yeah. And so I found myself yo-yoing between trying to be a little bit more operating from a business perspective to operating then the other end of the spectrum of trying to accommodate everyone. And I'm just curious if you both have ideas about how to work with that, because I'm sure there's other people out there who are dealing with the same problem.
Absolutely. Well, in Reiki space, the entire practice is based on the Reiki healing principles of love and service. So that always stays forefront in dealing with the public. And I do a blend of what you were just sharing. I want people to experience the energy here, everyone to be able to experience the energy here. So I always have lots of events that are free or by love donation. And I think there is nothing more valuable that you can offer to people than the beautiful spiritual connection. So it's about coming to terms with abundance and spirituality can coexist. And in order to be able to keep the flow, you need to recognize that money as a form of abundance is another form of energy. So as long as you keep it flowing in a positive direction with service first, it just works beautifully.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% that there has to be an exchange of energy, and I think what we all get caught up in is the give, mm-hmm. that we think that as being people that are driven with this desire to help people to progress, to become the best version of themselves possible, that we want to give everything away. And there's this portion of our brains that if we don't attach a value to something, then it's not taken seriously. Mm-hmm. And that's what I found a lot of times. I do a lot of free things. I give away a lot of information, mm-hmm. but a lot of times people, it's devalued because I don't expect an exchange from people. And the people that do commit, and the easiest way to commit is financially. Mm-hmm. As they commit financially, then they are invested in the process, and then they're more willing to do the work that it takes, because we all know to grow, whether it be physically or spiritually or mentally or emotionally, it takes work. And when you don't have any skin in the game, so to speak, It's very easy to not do the work. So that's been a real big thing for me in the past few years, in working with a lot of people that are doing some phenomenal things for the world, making some tremendous change, and it takes money to do that, and it takes other resources, and I think money is only one of them. The others are
Absolutely.
resources of the community that we build and the connections that we make, but when things are not run in a business-like way, then sometimes it's hard for people to take us seriously in what we do.
Right.
So perception is important.
And
So
it's always about the balance. I have a mentorship program I call Follow Your Heart and Do It Smart. And because you need both. You need that mission and that driven purpose and the service. And you don't want to lose your head and your thinking mind in the process, because you need to stay very persistent and very consistent to have your business continue for the longer run. And in the world of Reiki, balance is what it's all about. Mikao Usui, the founder of Reiki, learned that lesson early along his path as well, is that when people weren't sharing something in return, like you were saying, and it might not have been money, it might have been a chicken or a dinner or whatever it was, that they felt that they were giving as well as receiving, they didn't take the work seriously, and he noticed that the same people started coming back with the same issues, because you've got to step forward and do your own work as well, and so that adds value. Absolutely.
yeah, it's the currency. You know, when we think currency, we think dollar bills or credit cards in most people's cases, but the currency is the exchange.
That's
and,
right.
And in the old days, like from the martial arts perspective, it was not uncommon to teach for free on the surface, but what that meant is that your students that you were mentoring, they were providing you a place to live, they were buying your food, they were doing your laundry, they were doing everything for you so that you could teach them and give them something, that there was that exchange, there was that currency. So I think as our economic models have changed over the centuries, that we sometimes get caught up in romanticizing the past, and we don't understand the economics of doing work. And there are spiritual economics, you know, like you were saying, if you hold the money,
Right.
then it
Then you
stops
limit the
flowing
flow,
to you.
right.
So it's that you make more to do more, to give more, to make more, to do more, to give more,
Right.
and it's this cycle of growth.
Absolutely. And I still believe in trading as well. You know, I think we all have gifts that we can share. You know, I trade with the person who does my hair, for example. And as long as it feels equal and valuable to both parties, then that's a balanced exchange.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what we're doing right now. We're
Absolutely.
exchanging our ideas, our experience, and our connections with people. We're helping, hopefully, tons of people out there. So.
Yes, thank you. Well, I am very honored to introduce today's guest, Dave Korba, who is a lifelong spiritual seeker and also the publisher of Natural Awakenings magazine of Central Pennsylvania, which I'm proud to be a part of as well. He has spent over 23 years working in marketing and administration management, but also is very, very concerned about nurturing and supporting other people in their personal and spiritual growth and development. So welcome, Dave. I'm so happy to have you here
Thanks
today.
very much, Rickie, and thank you to you, Jose, and Susan. Appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. So I know from knowing you that you have a very personal journey that has led you to where you are today, and especially with starting the magazine. So I know you'd like to share that with us.
There's actually two starting points, really. You know, there was a way when I was very young, before the magazine was even in existence, is when the seeds of this type of work started for me. But more recently, maybe 10 or so years ago, when I was downsized several times when the big recession hit and the market crashed and all that, I lost a career job, and then I lost another job after that to the downsizing. I had always thought I wanted to be a writer, and I was interested in writing for Natural Awakenings magazine. There was a local publication near me. So I reached out to the publisher, or I was ready to reach out to that particular publisher and ask if I could write for the magazine. And then I noticed in the magazine that there was an advertisement for starting your own. And so I'm just, I'm transitioning through careers here, and I'm not sure what the next step is going to be. And so I thought maybe owning the magazine is the path for me, rather than writing for the magazine, even though I wanted to pursue that writing desire. So I ended up kicking the tires for about a year with the magazine, doing my due diligence and figuring out all the financials and choosing a marketplace to be in. And I was working in a job in a cubicle at the time, downsized from my big corporate management job, and I was so unhappy and so miserable, and it was so frustrating. And I figured, even in a downward economy, launching this business was better for me than staying in this cubicle. And the point that I want to make in this is that I launched this business, Natural Awakenings, pretty much in a total cocoon of fear. I had no idea what was going to happen. I didn't know, whether I was going to succeed or not. And I think that there's a big lesson in that, in and of itself, just to feel that fear, acknowledge it, and to embrace it, and to move forward into it. The fear's not going to go away. It doesn't go away. It's there. And so once I became familiar with it, and things worked out for me, and the fear has subsided tremendously. But I'm human, so like all of us, there's fear and all the full range of emotions in every day that we live. But the thing about the magazine that attracted me was, first of all, I had always been interested in health and physical fitness, in nutritional eating, and that kind of thing as I was growing up. So from a personal perspective, I resonated with the message that the magazine shared. And I was reading it for about a year only, or maybe a year and a half, when I first was introduced to it. And I said, yeah, I want to write for that magazine. Little did I know. So that's what makes it easy for me now, and it was easy for me then to launch the business, was because I resonated very strongly with the particular message. And being in a position then to share that message with others was the really underlying thing that really makes me comfortable being in this realm right now. Is I'm sharing something that I'm passionate about, and I think that makes all the difference. It made all the difference for me in the work that I was doing, because all the work previously had been work that I had been kind of steered toward in my upbringing, and other people telling me I should do this, and then I just, like a dutiful soldier, just followed somebody else's dream, and I had clues along the way, but I didn't have the wherewithal at a younger age to really change course and go toward the passion that I was feeling. Still an unknown, an uncertainty in my own life. But when the magazine came along, it's like it's just so easy. And that's the cue for me. It's just the ease and the passion with which it flows, that I could talk to other people about it, because I just thrive on the type of information and the exchanges and sharing that information with people. And it comes across, and then just to realize, well, this is what I'm doing to earn a living. Well, that makes it a lot easier than dragging myself out of bed and putting on a suit and a tie and going and doing something that I was just not being fulfilled in. So I don't know if I answered the question, or I got off on that.
You really do. And, I find it so beautiful that you actually have a written down personal mission that blends exactly with the mission of the magazine.
Yeah. And that's the deeper part of the story that goes way back when. did you say in the intro that I'm a lifelong seeker?
Absolutely.
Okay. And that's true too. You know, from a very early age, I've just been always curious about the deeper things in life and our purpose and my relationship with God and the universe and why am I here and all these a deep little thinker here, you know, right? As a lot of us are, obviously. And so, you know, the thing that couple watershed moments started the whole purpose, attention to purpose early on in life. You know, when I was just graduating from college, I think it was in a matter of 6 years, I experienced 3 deaths from people who were close to me. My grandmother in, I think, 1980, and then my brother in 82, and then my mom shortly thereafter in 84. Now, my grandmother was elderly, but my brother and my mom were both very young and both unexpected. So that really propelled me into that self-exploration and the wondering you know, my own purpose and being. And there was something. Are you guys comfortable if I share what my brother wrote?
Please, yeah.
Okay. It stayed with me throughout, and it's kind of been an inspiration for me. So the basic background, I was a year younger than him. He was 23 years, and he was living out on the West Coast. He had just graduated from an engineering program and moved out there. And it was in the state of Washington. He was living in Olympia, and his girlfriend at the time had just lost both of her parents. One of them died from a prolonged illness, and the other just passed suddenly a few months later. So Daniel wrote this passage to his girlfriend, and he said, "Life is full of sadness, joy, and love. Through these difficult times, you must accept all parts of life and carry the burdens as they fall upon your shoulders. At the same time, you must live your life to the fullest and enjoy everything life has to offer. Finally, you must look at yourself with a positive attitude so you can love and be loved by others. In all cases, faith is the common element that will make your life more pleasant. Express your faith by enjoying life. Express your faith by enjoying life." So a month after he wrote that, my brother was killed in a car accident. And he was only 23, like I said, and his girlfriend shared those words with us. And his message was a great comfort to me at that time when he passed, and it's had a pretty profound impact on my life going forward. So that I thought was very special words. A couple years later, I was living in Virginia at the time, and I was going through some discontent in my career. This is where it started. Even before that a little bit is when it started. But I decided to go back to school. And I started working on my goals. You know, so I had this material that I was working with, and as part of the goal setting process, the material I was reading said, you know, before you can really set some worthwhile goals, you really should have an underlying purpose to build a foundation, you know, to build those goals upon. So I worked on that diligently for, you know, a couple weeks, I guess, or crafting it, and what I utilized some of what my brother wrote, as well as some other things, to give me a foundational life's purpose. And I was in my mid-20s at the time, too, so I hadn't thought a lot about it. I pondered life, but now it's getting down to brass tacks here, and like, what do I want to do with my life? And so the purpose that I came up with is as follows. And it is to express and cultivate my faith in God by enjoying life. And that's the part of what my brother said. And that was my reminder to me, because it's always easy to run down the rabbit hole, get overwhelmed by the emotions. For me, I know not for anyone else. But so I started with that key. And that's the reminder that, his reminder that I carry with me forward. You know, enjoy life. Because I don't know if I'll be around tomorrow, and it goes by fast. And we're meant to accomplish certain things while we're here, and enjoying it is, you know, that's the privilege of being here. Enjoy it while it's here. So to express and cultivate my faith in God by enjoying life and everything life has to offer, while keeping God foremost in my thoughts. It's also to provide service to fellow men and women by looking for, seeing, and getting involved in the opportunities to help others. To let God work through me by providing comfort, compassion, a listening ear, or a gentle word when needed, and by relaying my experiences with God and with my faith to others. And then finally, to make a positive impact and a difference in this world while upholding the ideals of honesty, integrity, and sincerity in all things. So that's back in 1984, well before the magazine was ever in the picture. So there are elements of being of service. There are elements of sharing, compassion, sharing my story, which is the writing piece.
Absolutely.
And then, you know, impacting people.
And the spiritual perspective that flows through you.
Yeah. So, so that was in the early 80s. And then I kept building this, you know, climbing this ladder up a corporate wall, still really not diving into discovering and living the passion, but I had this underlying piece here. So, you know, then the universe takes care of everything. So it took care of, you know, my path as I was fighting.
Down that ladder.
Yeah, pretty much kicked it out right from underneath me.
That's how it works sometimes.
And, you know, as I was fighting and scratching all the way, or I wasn't really fighting and scratching, I was clinging and holding on to safety and to the known, and etc. So the decades literally flew by, you know, in the blink of an eye. I still can't believe how many decades have gone past. And you know, so losing a job and then finding a replacement and then losing that job to downsizing, I'm thinking, and you know, the world has changed and the economy's changed and technology has changed in all these decades that have passed. I'm like, who am I? What am I going to do? How do I reinvent myself? How do I survive in the world today? You know, and so that's when the magazine kind of showed up. And I said, I'm going to leave the rest of this behind, and this is better. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be better than being stuck in a cubicle somewhere and just, you know, not being able to go into work every day. So that's when I launched that magazine. And then, you know, being a good corporate type of guy, or student or planner and goal setter, I started setting goals for the magazine, and then I remembered, well, before I can set any goals here, you know, sales goals and, you know, editorial goals and all these goals for growth goals, and what's the purpose? Yes. And that's why it was very easy for me just to pull out that life purpose, and it just really overlaid so magnificently to, you know, the purpose that allows me the passion to share this magazine from my heart, because and so the magazine, the purpose of the magazine is to provide service to the community by being a resource for readers and a toolkit for businesses, to seek out, assemble, and share information that educates, inspires, and improves the quality of life for individuals, families, our community, and the planet, and to make an impact and a difference in the world while upholding the ideals of honesty, integrity, and sincerity of all things. It just, you know, it just feathered perfectly into who I feel I am at my core and what my life's purpose is, to allow me to then build a business purpose and then start to set business goals. You know, but there's a deeper, if spiritual, if you want to call it, calling to the work that I do with the magazine. So,
Well, I mean, I know for myself that I've been a advertiser with Natural Awakenings since
Since it started
since it
here.
started. And the one thing, because as a entrepreneur and thinking about marketing and things like that, you keep hearing, well, traditional print is dead. Those traditional sources of marketing are dead. And the one thing that I found is that Natural Awakening still has impact, and it's impacted me, and it's helped me. And part of the reason that we're all sitting here is because
absolutely.
of this
Oh, it is,
magazine,
yes.
and that it really has served a purpose in the community of creating a network for people of like-minded people, whether it be like-minded business owners like ourselves, or just people who are interested in their development. So you've really done a great job of meeting that portion of your mission. And as you continue on with your the next phase, because we're always looking, whether it's business or our personal development, we're always looking at what's next. We appreciate what we've done, but what's next? So what do you feel is the next logical step for you or for the magazine? Where do you see this going?
well, good question. I'll go check my goal sheet and try to figure that out. The magazine is in its 8th year now here in South Central Pennsylvania. 25 years overall from Natural Awakenings Publishing Corporation, the parent company. So the model has been fairly successful up to this point. Where I see it going is more of the same. There's still, even after 8 years, there's pockets of people and pockets within territories that still haven't even seen the magazine or don't even read the magazine. So I think it's a degree of continuing to find the generic growth and the organic growth that exists within the marketplace and within the communities. I also have started to make a little bit of a shift that answers that question in part in my own formula here in South Central. As you may know, we get the core content from our national office, which and the reason the magazine thrives all over the country is because of the nature of the editorial. It's educational in nature, it's objective, it's well written, it's high quality editorial, and the readers really resonate with it and they appreciate it. It's not really promotional, trying to get somebody's whatever message across or promotional aspects across. It's really readers say, I just love your magazine. So that's what really drives it. So that core content from the corporate office is the backbone, and then I filter in the local editorial, which is comprised of the news briefs, the news items, and local stories that we call the spotlights, or local health briefs, or local editorial contributions from local contributors. And so my formula is shifting a little bit. It just started shifting several months ago, where I'm relying more on the local than I have, or I'm not relying more on it, I'm increasing it. And I'm always going to rely on that core content from the national. They provide the theme for the month. They provide all the departments in the magazine where the great hot topics have been researched and vetted and come from our national writing team. But I'm turning more to my advertisers and my non-advertisers, my local writers who want to contribute to the magazine, to create an even more of a local flavor. It's local from the beginning, but I'm trying to enhance that local approach as well. There's also a lot of growth to be had with the technology side. Like everyone else, like we're all, like you guys just doing these soul sessions is great, and the way we all use social media today. So just for me in the magazine, looking at the website continually, looking at the online presence and the social media aspects as well, and really leveraging them to the most. There's a little bit of room for growth for me there. So I think overall, though, it's more of the same, and it's maybe creating more personal, local, personalized aspect to the magazine than it even exists currently.
Yeah, and even though other print media may be fading, people love picking up this magazine. You've stuck to the niche, which I really appreciate, and I probably get more comments of anything else than I do that I saw you in Natural Awakenings. Yeah.
I think one of the things that I find interesting, Dave, is that you really touched on what Jose and Rickie were talking about towards the beginning of the show. And for a spiritually conscious business, right? It's having community. It's having services that you're able to offer as needed at low or no cost, but then also having the balance of, cost. And I look at it that you encompass all of that, right? So you have the paid money coming in for the advertisement, which, as you said, and you Jose as well, as advertisers, you actually see the benefit of that, so you don't have the issue with actually outputting the money. And then you have the community, and the news briefs that you do, and the spotlights that you do, and now incorporating these articles from more local writers, right? And then you also, one of the things that we don't see here is that every month you have an opportunity for business leaders to get together and to discuss their businesses so that they can network. And you always have a speaker, which I'm not sure if you know, but this is how this actually came to be.
I do know, yeah, I know that story, yeah.
So
The Natural Network meeting.
the National Network meeting, so Jose was a speaker, and Rickie and I were sitting next to each other, and I just had this moment of wanting to create something that was able to share the knowledge that that you have, and that you have, Jose, and are my passions as well. And your ability to be who you are and to follow your own personal mission statement, it pours out beyond the pages of your magazine.
Well, I want to add the other word onto there. When we talk about spiritually conscious business, I was like trying to define that in my mind before even arriving to that. Like, what is spiritually conscious? And the thing for me that came up, and that you're pointing out right now, the word that I use is authenticity. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the key element. There's a story that I share at times. It was back when I went back to graduate school. And I did a 2-year MBA program at Penn State, and in between, at the end of the first year, we did internships, or we had a series of interviews for our internships for that coming summer. And I had an interview with AT&T. I'll always remember, and it was like I really didn't want to work for them, but I wanted to get the interview experience, And so I went into the interview, and the interviewer says, "So why do you want to work for AT&T?" I couldn't say. I just said nothing. This is what I did. I sat there, and I said nothing, and it was over. I couldn't really.
Couldn't speak a non-truth.
I couldn't speak a non-truth. I couldn't BS him, and I couldn't dance around the edges. And the guy said, "Listen, and he tried to help me, with my interviewing skills, and it was such an incredible lesson for me in the need to be authentic, and to really be real, and that's. Thank you for saying that, because that's how it comes across with the magazine. It's like it's easy. It's easy to talk about, and it's easy to share with other people, and it's such a positive message that the magazine represents, but it's really the community. It's really the contributors. It's really everyone else's with similar positive messages that we get behind each other in full force, and we share it with the people who read the magazine. And it's making an impact. The most impact is when people see me, or they'll call me for some grim reason, and the first words out of their mouth is, "I just love your magazine. I love your magazine. It's really making a difference." And people will call me, my chiropractor, can't make it to the chiropractor anymore. Can you send me a magazine? How can I get your magazine? Where else can I find your magazine? That's like, people are just like, so that's like, in between the trials and tribulations of every day, I'll hang up that phone call and go, well, okay, that's why I do this. And I'm making a difference, and that makes all the difference for me, rather than, you know, just punching a clock and not making a difference.
I also, looking at your bigger picture, think it's so beautiful that all the things that led up to this, even though they didn't feel like they were on your path and they were challenges and things you had needed to overcome, they all perfectly align with where you are right now. And that's what allows you to be able to do this so well.
Yeah, and I'm in gratitude about that every day. And there's more, maybe the bigger piece for your question to me about the magazine really is, what more is there for me personally that's next too? And then I avert my gaze from Susan, because she's my inspiration on writing, you know. And her and I, we've had several conversations about how your own self-motivation is so inspiring for me, and I'm still kicking that can down the road and working on the edge, around the edges, like I was hesitant, you know, but I just gotta wait. So there's things bubbling for me on that writing front, and I'm getting closer, and I'm making small progress. So I'm trying not to beat myself up too much, but I know I'll be continually inspired by you, by others, and by the message of the magazine. So thanks for noticing.
And everybody really enjoys your personal message in the beginning of the magazine as well. So even that little bit of writing is very valuable. Yeah.